What's up, YouTube? We're live, Straight Facts Homie, back here for another season. I think this is the second year doing this. We may have done this.
Yeah, second year.
Yeah. Second year we're doing this, yes. And I'm Mason, there's Walter John. We will start recording our full 60-minute show. And as we like to do after football games, we will do the 15-20 minutes talking about our Patriots. And we will do that right now. I'm hearing myself in another window. I gotta get rid of that before we get going. I'm tripping out a little bit. Bear with me just for a second. Dismiss that. Okay, quiet. Good. Good. Here we go. In where did it go? Record on this computer in 3, 2. Welcome back in, ladies and gentlemen, into the one and only Straight Facts Homie, a 60-minute NFL TV show coming your way. I'm Mason Souza, Walter Sabina, and John Lyons. Week 1 has come and gone. Right now, currently at this moment in time, we are live streaming on YouTube. You can find us obviously later after the fact on Facebook and Twitter, TCAM TV. I'm Mason Souza, Walter Sabina, John Lyons. Guys, how are you doing? Most of the week 1 as we record in this very point in time is basically through. How have you enjoyed football being back?
Hey, it's only 8 o'clock on Sunday, but going to be lots to talk about in the second quarter. Lots of great games today, and looking forward to talking about that.
Yeah, it's nice to have football back. It would be a lot nicer if the Patriots took advantage of all the opportunities they had to win this game, but it is nice to have football back.
Terrific segue, John. As always, we'll get right into it. The Patriots fall to the Philadelphia Eagles by a score of 25-20. Tom Brady in the house, ringing the bell like it's a 12th man out in Seattle. If we have time, we can, or if you guys want to just talk about that instead of the game, feel free. We will talk about the Patriots and Eagles, everything else in week 1, and so on and so forth as the rest of the show. We encourage you to join the conversation if you are live on YouTube right now. We want to hear from you, and we'll answer your questions and all that fun stuff. But Walter, let me throw it to you right off the top. Patriots and Eagles, the first quarter was ugly, and then they made it competitive along the way.
Yeah, 16 points in the first quarter. You thought maybe the game was already over with the way the Eagles were rolling. They had the pick 6, and then the immediate next play for the Patriots, the fumble by Ezekiel Elliott, setting up the short field, and the touchdown for Jalen Hurts to Devontae Smith right after a sack was negated due to holding on the defense. So a big swing there. But, after that is when the Patriots sort of calmed down. I was thinking the Eagles were going to run away with it, but the Patriots of 2023 showed a little bit of poise, scoring 2 touchdowns in the second quarter, making it 16-14 at the half, getting the ball in the third quarter. But ultimately things fell apart. So in those middle quarters, the second and the third quarter, and maybe a little bit of the fourth quarter, they showed, I was very optimistic about how they were playing that game. I thought they had a chance to win it late there in the game, and we'll talk about the execution down the stretch and maybe some of the decisions, but it leaves me optimistic for what the future holds for this team. Mac Jones, 54 pass attempts. That's a career high. I'm not expecting him to do that, every week, because we knew the Eagles front 4 and front 7 were going to be good against the run. What do we have here for the Patriots rushing? Only 76 yards on the ground. Mac Jones had 316 yards through the air, had the 3 touchdowns, 2 to Kendrick Bourne, and we'll get to Kendrick Bourne as we come around again. But, just the way they played, some things need to be shored up. I think some of the play calling down the stretch there, the execution, they had to delay a game on 4th down, back them up, and then the play call, Mac Jones throwing the ball to Hunter Henry, which was still 5 yards short, even if Hunter Henry were to catch it. So the execution in the second, the third quarter were great. But the first quarter, you got off to the slow start. Obviously, the weather had an impact, with the pick 6 and then the fumble right afterwards. And again, like I said, played well second and third quarter, fourth quarter, some questionable play calling. But I'm very optimistic with, the decisions that Mac Jones is going to play with. Bill O'Brien put together the game plan to get the ball out of his hands quickly to sort of limit and neutralize that pass rush for the Philadelphia Eagles. Mac Jones only got sacked twice, and it took to the final 3 minutes of the game to get those sacks. Of course, timely sacks, but things like this, it's week 1, maybe a little bit more preparation, but going forward, it leaves me optimistic after they watch film and adjust that during the week, what this offense can really be moving forward. So, you hate to say moral victories, but I'm very optimistic with what the offense can do moving forward.
Yeah, I'm not going to say moral victory. Walter, but I do think there were a lot of encouraging signs. The biggest story for me, though, in this game, guys, the Patriots beat themselves. You look at the Patriots defense gave up 18 points to one of the most talented offenses in the league. 6 of those 18 points were field goals from over 50 yards out. Like, the Patriots defense played well enough to win this game, but still, right? Dietrich Wise on the very first series lined up in the neutral zone on a play that Jalen Hurts missed the snap. It would have been a 3rd and long. Instead, it was a 1st down. Eagles eventually go down, get a field goal there. The Patriots, you mentioned, Walter, they throw the pick 6. Then they have the fumble right after that, which sets up a touchdown. They have Kayshon Boutte has 2 catches, including a 4th down conversion on the last drive negated because he doesn't get both feet in bounds either time, right? So we saw just a lot of mistakes for the Patriots and essentially in this game, like, the Eagles are a great team. They're going to be a contender all year, but the Patriots had 7 more first downs. They were 5 of 15 on 3rd down, which, as we know from last year, it's a lot better than they were last year. They outgained the Eagles by 131 yards. They had a better red zone percentage than the Eagles, but it was all the mistakes they made which ultimately cost them the game. I would even include Bill Belichick on a 4th and short in the red zone, not kicking a field goal earlier in the 4th quarter when the Patriots are down 22-14. That may have changed the complexion of the game. And let's not forget, Mac Jones converted a 2-point conversion in Calvin Anderson. And I know it's kind of maybe a ticky-tack holding penalty, but he gets called for a holding penalty. Like, all these mistakes I mentioned, they had another, I think it was they were either in the red zone or borderline red zone possession in the 3rd quarter, and then had back-to-back penalties, ended up having to punt, got no points out of that. So a lot of mistakes today either took points off the board directly for the Patriots or added them directly for the Eagles. So there's a lot of encouraging signs. I mean, if this was last year, the Patriots would not have hung with the Eagles, right? And we saw that multiple times. We have seen growth already. Mac Jones outplayed Jalen Hurts today, right? We saw that. The Patriots patchwork offensive line gave up 2 sacks, and Mac Jones had a clean pocket most of the game. They need to do better run blocking, but he had a clean pocket most of the game. To me, this was about the Patriots' mistakes. And if they can clean these mistakes up, this is a team that can win 9 or 10 games to make the playoffs. If they can't, though, we're looking at Miami, who just put 36 points on the board in week 2. The Jets with Aaron Rodgers in week 3, Dallas in week 4. It's a tough road. So to me, a lot of encouraging signs, but the headline for me is that they just beat themselves with so many mistakes.
You know, it's been, 7-8 months since we reacted to a Patriots game, but I'm feeling a little deja vu because we're saying the same exact thing. If they can just clean up these things, if they cannot just step on their own toes, if they can have a little more consistency, guys, this is just who they are. This is an inconsistent bunch, a mediocre team. They have bursts. They can surprise you. That 2nd quarter was remarkable, or should I say the last half of that 2nd quarter. 2 consecutive drives, Mac 12 of 13, Hunter Henry, Gesicki, all these tight ends getting in action. Pop Douglas, I thought, had a pretty solid debut, the rookie wide receiver. But then there's just
all their rookies were good, by the way. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah,
rookies
Gonzalez
had a pretty good day outside of Boutte.
Yeah, with the 4th down. And how about that? Out of all the decisions, the Eagles to go for it at the end of that game there, I'm like, this is worse than throwing it at the goal line Pete Carroll style in Super Bowl 49. What are we doing here? So anyway, Nick Sirianni possibly giving the game away, be that as it may. There was a little bit of Brady magic with Brady in the building. We're like with Peppers knocking the ball off and ball out. But then, I mean, Walter, you mentioned it at the start. Mac Jones throwing a 4th down well short of the 1st down marker, just like silly mistakes. And I mean, that's probably way down on the list of mistakes that were made in this game. So, I mean, I just think that's going to be the name of the game for this 2023 New England Patriots, kind of what we saw last year. A remarkable run of inconsistencies can surprise you at times and leave you like, okay, if they just do this, this, and this, they can do it. But, can they all put it together? I mean, I liked what I saw early with Bill O'Brien in the offense. Walter, you had mentioned it in the group chat, the kind of option run, whatever was going on with Zeke down the sideline. I'm not too well versed with the terminology. John, maybe you can help me out with that. But the point is, like, all of a sudden, the first 4 games, offensive snaps, I'm like, this is already better than the Patricia Judge convoluted thing that we saw last year. So be that as it may, I liked the fight. What happened in the end is what it is, but it just leaves more to be seen. How can you come that slow out the gate to start the year, go down 16-0. The pick six, it was a rough throw, but Kendrick Bourne, it was through his hands. In the end, he ends up with 2 touchdowns in the game. So you can come back from something like that, which is awesome. So it's week 1. Don't want to get way ahead of myself. It is a new year after all, but in the end, I think I'm going to be saying this word all throughout the year: inconsistency from the New England Patriots.
Yeah, I would agree with your point, Mason. If like these things are fixable, if it was maybe week 7 or 8 and we were still saying that, but I truly believe like week 1, you've got a new offensive coordinator, and we're here several minutes in the show. We haven't even talked about the performance of the defense, because it's the same defensive coordinator in what we assume is Gerard Mayo, with Bill Belichick kind of over his shoulder there. They've got a lot of the pieces on that defense coming back. You add a 1st-round pick in Christian Gonzalez. We're expecting that defense to be what they've been in past years. And first drive, it was dry. It was bend but don't break. They got the red zone stop. We're given a short field, and ultimately the Eagles scored. So we expect them, or at least I do, to be a maybe not top tier, but a good defense that will stop and set up our offense for success. And it's game 1 for Mac Jones, who had limited play in the preseason. Bill O'Brien, who is an actual offensive coordinator, not like what we had last year, will make the adjustments and make those differences during film sessions and practice during the week, so we don't put ourselves in the same situations. Guys, we saw a couple times today, guys running routes near one another. The Hunter Henry first touchdown catch, he had another receiver right next to him. Kendrick Bourne running that seam for, I believe, his 2nd touchdown. There was another receiver running up a seam with him. So little things that Bill O'Brien, who's been an offensive coordinator for many years at both the pro and college level, will figure out. They'll make the adjustments. And I think we're so fixated on what happened last year that, we don't want to think that there will be the changes moving forward. But I agree that, or I believe that the changes will be made. I think the offense will be fine. The pick six happened to be unfortunate with the time of day and the weather that was going on. But I think it's, once we fix this, once we fix that, if I'm still saying it in week 3 and week 4, then you can, I'll stick my foot in my mouth. But I like where the offense is going. Like I said, I'm optimistic with it, and you fix these things, and I fully trust Bill O'Brien to fix these things with Mac Jones going forward. And I said in my bold predictions, John said it with bold predictions, over 4,000 yards passing for him. I said over 30 touchdown passes. After a week like today, I'm pretty optimistic with both of those things happening later in the year.
Yeah. And Mason, I understand your frustration, and you're right in that last year we said this a lot, mistake after mistake. Can they correct it? What I think is a little different now, though, is the mistakes to me are more correctable than they were a year ago. What I mean by that is last year, they were giving up kickoff returns for touchdowns, blocked punts. They weren't even lining up right. We had false starts left and right all over the place. Nobody was even open at times in the passing game. Now, like, Dietrich Wise is a smart player. He's not going to line up in the neutral zone again. Like in the Kayshon Boutte stuff, maybe he won't get that corrected, but they have enough depth that if he doesn't, he just won't play. Eventually, he probably wouldn't have played today if Devontae Parker and Tyquan Thornton were healthy. And eventually, you're going to have at least one of those guys, if not both, consistently. So I understand what you're saying, but I think the mistakes feel a little bit more correctable now. And of course, it remains to be seen, right? They have to do it. But I feel like the mistakes they made today that we listed off earlier just feels it's more correctable than you gave up 2 kickoff returns for touchdowns in week 18 against the Bills. Like, that's abysmal. Whereas this is like, okay, it's little things we pointed out here and there. Like, they can go back and say, oh, maybe in that situation again, we'll kick the field goal instead of going for, like, those are, I think, a little bit more correctable. And then Walter, you mentioned the defense, and I know I touched on it in my first take, but I thought the defense was terrific for the most part today. I mean, early on in the game, they gave up 1 touchdown in the first quarter when they had been set up in a short field by the Elliott fumble. And even that was in tight coverage. So this is an Eagles team. Again, they scored 18 offensive points, and 2 of them were field goals over 50 yards. So I thought the defense played really well. Christian Gonzalez had a sack. He had a tackle for loss, the huge pass breakup on the Eagles' last 4th down. Keon White was getting pressure all over the place. And just to expand to the rookies in general, we had 2 rookie starting guards in this game. And the Eagles, Jalen Carter, I think, looked legit, But for the most part, the Eagles didn't generate a lot of pressure on those two rookie guards. So I thought the two rookie guards, at least in pass protection, did pretty well. Mason, you mentioned Pop Douglas, 4 catches for 40 yards. He looked pretty good in his Patriots and NFL debut. So the rookies, I thought for the most part, looked pretty solid. And even Chad Ryland at kicker. I mean, he made the kicks that he was asked to make, and he did all right on kickoffs. So I think the rookies look solid. It's 1 week, but they did look promising. But again, I mean, the story to me is the mistakes. And I think the real question, and Walter, you mentioned, how are we going to sit here week 4, week 5, week 6? I feel like these mistakes are more correctable than the ones last year, but they still have to get them corrected. And I think we're going to sit here in week 4 and feel really good about this team because they corrected them, or we're not going to feel good about this team because they didn't correct them.
You're watching Straight Facts. Homie, just enough time to go around one more time. We'll get to this. 2 things I definitely want to say. One of them is in the comments as we stream live on YouTube. And you mentioned it, John, briefly. Yeah. I want to kind of give a standing O right now for the offensive line, because you mentioned 2 rookies, Calvin Anderson on the right. Yes, there were some holding calls at inauspicious times. And obviously they did give up 2 sacks when the game kind of was on the line with 5 minutes left. But through whatever it was, 55 minutes, Patriots had 3 sacks, Eagles had 0. I would have bet my house that would have been flipped. If you just gave me one had 3, one had 0. So incredible job. I would not have expected the Patriots offensive line to do that well against that stout Eagles defense. And in the comments, Jason, great contributor to the show and Straight Facts, homie, mentioned he agreed with you, John, in the previous go around, saying wouldn't call it a moral victory, but showed them a lot today. Also to talk about that not kicking that field goal around the 9-minute mark in the 4th quarter. We talked about this as it happened. I hated both decisions. I wanted the points. I would have, with 4th and 8, when Hunter Henry made that spectacular one-handed catch to keep the chains going on that first 4th down conversion, and then to go for it again well in field goal range, that would have made it a 5-point game, right?
Yes.
And then then the Eagles went down. Jake Elliott scored his 4th field goal, made it 11. Hindsight's 2020. If they kick the field goal, now they only need a field goal to win at the end of the game rather than a touchdown. So your thoughts on Belichick's decision with 9 minutes left to go for it on 4th down twice?
Yeah, I was defending both decisions to go for it. I mean, you're down 8. A field goal gets you to 5. And I remember a couple of years ago, I think it was Brady's last year, or when we played the Cowboys a couple of years ago when Jason Garrett was still the head coach, they were trailing by 7. He elected to kick the field goal and made it 4. And we kind of, I believe on this show, even kind of laughed at his decision to go for it because you still need a touchdown. I think it's the same situation here. You still need a touchdown anyway. Why take the points? Okay, you get the stop, you get the ball back. Again, you're still going to need a touchdown. Even if they got the field goal, which they did, you're back up 11. So that kind of, negates it, in my opinion. So you need the touchdown. You got to do what you need to in that situation and not rely on your defense getting a stop or whatever. So you go for the touchdown. You try to get the points, because if you score a touchdown there, even if you miss the 2-point conversion, now you can get it. And now all you need is a field goal instead of going for the field goal, getting the ball back. And now you need a touchdown again. So I was in favor of going for the plays. Unfortunately, they missed the second 4th down, so it kind of bit them in the behind. But I agree with both decisions to go for it on both 4th downs.
So I agreed with the decision to go with the first time around, because I think rookie kicker in not great conditions, first start ever, that's over a 50-yard field goal. I was okay going for that one. The second one, though, I would have kicked it there and cut the lead at that point. I think points were at a premium for the Patriots, and their offense, again, looked solid at points today, but you're still playing a great defensive front. And I think, look, if they kick the field goal there and they don't get a penalty on the 2-point conversion, Mac, right, like those 2 plays, if one of those goes the other way, we might be talking about a totally different result today. So I think those are that field goal. The second one is the one I disagree with. The first one I could understand not wanting the rookie to kick a 50+ yarder in not great conditions in his debut.
There you have it. That's Patriots Eagles in a nutshell on Tom Brady Day. What are you guys doing June 12th, 2024?
I already know what I'm doing that day.
You
got plans.
Going to be front and center at Patriot Place. That's a cool gesture. Obviously well deserved. I was hoping for like Tom Brady Stadium, instead of Gillette Stadium, something like that.
Or Tom Brady Field at Gillette Stadium.
A giant obelisk or something, 100 feet tall, higher than the lighthouse. Anyway, we're getting into whatever mode. Thank you for watching on YouTube Live as we live stream, and thank you everyone else on TCAM TV as we will get to everything else in week number 1 right here as we go into the second quarter of Straight Facts Only. Thanks for watching on YouTube. We'll talk to you. Thanks for contributing as well. We'll talk to you next week when we live stream for week 2. Who are they playing? Dolphins?
Yep.
Yeah.
Sunday Night Football.
Tyreek Hill is looking pretty good. Oh boy.
Yeah.
We'll talk to you then.